All right, we got something kind of new today. We're here at James's studio. Thankfully, a great setup here. Got the Pudgy Penguin, got the Mountain Water, very official. So I've been collecting people to talk about Bitcoin personal finance. You're someone we've met through the YouTube channel. We had coffee this morning in Del Mar. You spent over a decade trading futures. And today we're going to talk about Bitcoin personal finance, kind of a broad ranging discussion on that. What does that mean to be a futures trader?
Yeah. First of all, don't do it. It's hard. I did it because sneak in as much as you want. You can cover up the Pudgy Penguin, no problem. I think I was in a life of poker, right? The poker world, and this, long story short, I got an opportunity to move into the trading world, and I was like, okay, I don't know anything about anything. But my back was kind of against the wall in poker, wasn't going as well, lifestyle creep. And so I just went for it. And futures trading, options trading, stock trading, bond trading, they're all different things. And I didn't know what that meant at all. Futures is like, you're trading contracts for commodities out into the future, right? Like, oh, I'm going to buy corn. Technically, I'm not buying the corn. I'm buying a contract that says I'll buy corn in the future. But before I actually have to buy the corn, I'm going to sell that back to somebody else. And it's just doing it over and over. And you're effectively building up liquidity, trading volume for these products, making the prices more efficient. And, there were points in my career where I was like, what's the point of all this? What are we doing here? It's just numbers moving around on a screen. But to be honest, like, these are important things in the world, like oil and, the 10-year bond and all these things. And every single trader that adds volume is doing a little bit of a part of making prices efficient for people. So I do think it's important, and like, it's fun. So that's what I did. I did it for the last 12 years until the end of 2024. And I kind of stopped. Day trading it was just exhausting. I mean, look at this. It's exhausting.
Yeah. The gray hair. And I'm bullish on gray hair. Were you already I like how our conversations kind of range back and forth between the actual economics and like philosophy a little bit. Were you already kind of a philosophical person pre-poker, pre-futures trading, or like what's that relationship when you were stepping back and being like, what is the point of all of this? Does that help you do better, or does that actually complicate the trading?
Yes. So both. I am very introspective, but I think I'm getting more and more aware of that introspection and stuff as I get older. I think in like the poker days and the early trading days, I didn't really think about that. I just thought I was just trying to be like everybody else. I had confidence issues, insecure about my skill set, thinking everybody was judging me, all that stuff. And then I finally like kind of got over the hump, started getting a little bit older, developed the trading style I really liked. And all of a sudden that all dropped. And then I just started realizing that trading and investing is just like staring yourself in the mirror for years and years and years. And like, you're the competition. So you can blame everything. You can blame the market. You can blame Trump. You can do whatever you want to do. But in the end, like, you clicked the button, you put your money there, your family, your ancestry, or like bloodline or whatever they call it. It's on your decision. And I think I've finally accepted that responsibility. And it's like the pressure and all of that. It's like kind of, I like it. So, here we are. That's what I do.
Talk more about the status part though, because I like how, so a similar thing has happened to me where when I was chasing status, it kind of kept getting away from me, or I felt like it was like kind of getting away from me. And when I almost like stepped back and focused on just making money, it weirdly, like the status that I had always been hoping for almost like came to me easier.
Yeah. A lot of it was just wanting my peers to think I was good. So like whatever that status is, like for the people I spend the most time with to say like, yeah, he belongs. He's like, if they were to talk about me privately, they'd be like, yeah, he's a solid trader or something. Same with poker, because poker's way more like, you see these people every day and you don't want them to say like, yeah, like he's here, but like he kind of sucks, like you don't want to be that. But if you focus too much on that, you start trying to prove yourself in the weirdest of ways, to where like the point of like trading or poker is to like find the fish, right? Find the bad person or situation and like exploit it, like extract the value from that situation. You don't want to go into the hardest market or play the hardest player and say like, I need to go prove myself in there, because like if you're not seasoned and really understand where your edge comes from in that case, you're gonna blow yourself up pretty much. So once I kind of crossed that chasm and I was like, okay, I know where I'm playing well, why I'm playing well. I need to like focus less on battling the better person or the better market. And then like you're saying, by doing that, my results got better. So then they start to think I'm a better player or trader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and the reason, so this identity conversation, I don't like, it's not a tangent. It's not a weird place to start, because I want to talk about the difference between a trader and an investor. And also you've written like 4 profiles of investors, and kind of knowing your profile is helpful for the way that you look at the market. But I also want to bring up a funny identity thing that we've talked back and forth about. Are you comfortable identifying as retired? Do you introduce yourself as, hi, I'm retired? What is your current identity?
No, because I feel like when you say that, people they just think a bunch of different things that I don't want them to think. So I just like to say now, like we talked a little bit about, I say like, oh, I manage money, or I invest in, frontier things, or things that I think are like changing the world that I'm passionate about, or I'm a trader. I'll still say that. There's a little bit of like, it depends who I'm talking to. You know what I mean? And I'm by no means retired. I I do like this idea though of like, you have young kids, I have young kids, like having this kind of weird soft retirement sabbatical period where I'm like trying to figure out the next decade while still like kind of functioning in the space.
Yeah. So uh another part, so when people ask me what I do, and I just say like, oh, I'm in Bitcoin, because I've identified, people on the channel know this about, but like I've identified as kind of like a Bitcoin advocate for a long time, of just like, oh, the actual thing I'm focused on is like talking to people about Bitcoin being better than fiat money. But when I bring it up in common conversation now, after kind of zooming back, people immediately think I'm a day trader. Like people hear like, oh yeah, I'm in Bitcoin, oh, I'm in crypto, as, oh, you're day trading. Where does that come? Where do you have any thoughts on that?
Probably like just reminds them of like, they already think it's a risky business. They think of volatility. They might remember themselves trying it out once or twice. Cause like you probably talk to what, like 35-year-old guys a lot. They've all tested their might in markets somewhere. You know what I mean? Like in risk, whether it's fantasy or sports betting or stocks. Everybody's traded a little bit of stocks. They all have Robinhood on their phone still. Like,
Dads love Robinhood. That's the hip thing.
I mean, I don't like Vlad, but like it's a phenomenal product, right? And I feel like it just, going back to, it's always about yourself. Like I feel like it triggers something in them when you say that. And they don't want, I think they want to judge you right away, to bucket you in this like thing that reminds themselves of like a bad version of themselves or an unsuccessful version of themselves. So they cast that on you, like, oh, so you're like a day trader.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get into. So what is a trader and what is an investor?
Yeah, that's a good question. To me, like when I think of trading, it's like I'm trying to use capital to like outperform a benchmark over like a shorter period of time or something. I'm not as attached to a product or an asset or whatever. I'm just trying to use the situation of a certain product or asset to outperform, to then transfer to another one. Whereas investing, I always, I guess, thought about more like time horizon, long term. I believe in something. I think it's generating whatever. some cash flow, some change in the world that I want to be a part of that growth. Whereas trading, I'm just like, it's an extractive mindset, I think, a game.
Mhm.
Whereas investing is more like, how am I setting up my life for the long term? That's like my basic.
And so the
thoughts.
people that
And I
just
live somewhere in the middle.
right, and the guy, so that the guy that just casually has Robinhood on their phone,
Mhm.
what bucket would you put that in? Or what bucket do they think they're in?
Well, I think their Robinhood is their trading,
Mhm.
like, and then I think they have their 401k.
Therefore, yeah, and yeah,
That's an
I think that's
investor.
true. I think that
Yeah.
I think that regular person, the 35-year-old, the 45-year-old, the 55-year-old that's at work, where they go to their office or they sit in their home office, they have their serious investments
Mhm.
with their and we can talk about like what those might be, but you're right, in their 401k buckets and their IRA buckets, and then they have their like side money,
Mhm.
fund money,
Yeah.
that is just they're throwing it at certain things on the app on their phone.
But
It's
then I
less
think they
serious.
put you into that, right?
Mhm.
They think when you say that, they just picture you living in that fun money,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's where like there's always maybe a little bit of judgment, or you feeling like you have to explain yourself like,
And,
no, I know what you're doing, but I'm not the fun money.
well,
I'm
and
investing.
does you and crypto YouTube doesn't help that, honestly. Like crypto
No.
YouTube doesn't help that
Mhm.
perception. Because it is so the majority of people on this channel are the actual stats on the back end of YouTube. They're between 35 to 55. And they get referred here, like half get referred here from crypto channels that are
Yeah.
basically giving news about ticker symbols that you can throw fun money at.
Yeah.
And half of them are referred by, call them like Bitcoin maximalists, like grumpy, like talk down on shitcoins channels and talk about, Bitcoin being better than fiat money channels. And it's a
Yeah.
blending of those. And then we're starting to bring in the little bit of I'm trying to bring in, to widen the curve, to bring in the classic fire movement and classic like conservative dividend fund investing people into it as well, and have this really like mature conversation about Bitcoin personal finance and breaking Bitcoin and crypto out of the fun money only bucket.
Yeah. So you're like a bridge builder, I guess. Like you're trying to communicate as well as you can. Hey, like these two buckets, like you could live in both buckets. You can like go from one to the other, right? Like just because this play money is here and this is what you think of in Bitcoin, like I want to mentally get you to the point where Bitcoin can be in your investor bucket,
Yeah.
right? Like that bridge needs to be, and then you're taking the income guys and trying to build a bridge too. And that bridge is tough given that, like you said, the the channels we have out there right now, it's either full bore crypto is crypto, you can do anything, or full bore like
Right.
no,
Right.
like it's Bitcoin and everything.
Right.
And like the whole they'll make fun of people who do other assets. They'll say like you got to shit coin before you Bitcoin, like you're gonna learn your lesson, right?
Yeah. Or and I think where a lot of those channels also shoot themselves in the foot is like when they talk about how just full on blanket, like Bitcoin is better than real estate, just like rent for your entire life, like all it just that signals to me, that signals that, oh, you're not serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like you aren't at like, I'm not running into you at my kids like private school like pickup line.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just exist as like a random talking head on the internet. Like everyone over here that's like you're basically you're not helping quote unquote the cause of Bitcoin, because 48-year-old guy with real 401k fun money on Robinhood watching his bills go up every month is like, what did you just say? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? That's weird. Like,
Yeah, and I don't. I think some of them they obviously like mean well. They're trying to build a voice and like, but in a weird way, a lot of them just it becomes like insulting in a way, like where they just like the feedback they get from the other people in the Bitcoin community.
yes,
Yeah, you're
yes,
so hardcore,
yes,
dude. Like you so get it,
yes.
And I love that's why I think your channel is like something that's like a breath of fresh air, maybe just because I'm like, "Ah, like finally, like just bro out with a normal fucking person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So that's the kind of or Bitcoin only channels. But then also on the other side, why do you think so many crypto degens are underexposed to Bitcoin?
I think it's the unit thing. Like they just don't feel like I think the general like idea of, oh, well, I have like 8 grand and you want me to like invest 7 of it into Bitcoin or all of it into Bitcoin and not do anything else. Like if Bitcoin goes to like 300,000 and you're saying I have like 20 grand, like that's not fun. That's not going to get me to where all
That
these
doesn't
other
change
people
their
are.
life.
Doesn't change my life.
Mhm.
So like I've heard about this other thing, this meme coin thing, and like I've seen all these posts about these people that what there's like so many things in there, but like one of the big things that I, as a trader, know is like they don't ever see the 999 people that just go bust
Mhm.
over and over and over. They see the one popular reshared post of the guy who's probably a good trader, by the way. Like many of these guys who crush meme coins, they're not just like noobs, they're really good and they have edge. But that's probably the biggest holdback is this, it's not enough for them. Like to just put 10K in Bitcoin and have it double. It's not enough.
So agreed for that portfolio. Do you think there's also so you think the majority of successful people in crypto do have a core Bitcoin position? So that's, to me, that person is broke basically. So yes, so the broke person trying to hit grand slams, I understand that for that
Hmm.
person. What about the just middle person that has been around for a couple cycles but just is like still sitting in kind of just like large alternate L1 positions without a Bitcoin position? Like what do they believe?
It probably just depends. Like, what do they want out of all this? Like, I feel like me and you, we kind of believe in what Bitcoin is, what it means to the world, what it does for our money and our family long term, blah blah blah. But I know a couple of people I talk to every day who are like, I use the crypto ecosystem to make fiat. That's what I
Yes.
do. Like that's my mindset is I don't care if I have a Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin and like have excess savings and like I'm the dollar debasement trade. They don't give a fuck. They're just here to like
Why?
I just think that's just their prerogative. They just like trading, they like swings, they'll go do equities, they'll buy the bottom of TLT for God's sake. Like it could be whatever. I just think they like the game of it. But they're not you could tell they have like this freedom of attachment from assets, which sometimes I
They're
struggle
mercenaries.
with. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I struggle with that sometimes because sometimes I'm like I just want to move. I just want to snipe my way to victory.
Mhm.
Like I don't necessarily want to buy into being this guy. But then the other side of that is like you have way too much of an attachment to an asset class and like that could be a huge problem, right? Like you know, what if all sorts of things went wrong with Bitcoin? I don't know. There's obviously all these things that could go wrong, but you're just like going to die with the ship. That can also be bad too, right? Like so I just like I need to and this is I think again where you go is like I need to sit down with somebody for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to really understand what are you doing in this space?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yes.
What are your goals? Like
Yes.
what do you think of? Like let me tell you an anecdote. I was at a Persian birthday party week ago and mingling around doing talking about all these things that we're saying, what do you do for work? I just kind of and I'm sitting on the couch and my wife had told this woman like, oh, he trades stuff or whatever, and then she was next to me and was like, oh, I have like questions. I heard you like do this stuff. What do you trade? And I was like, oh, generally like kind of whatever's moving. I really like crypto. Like I kind of go in that space, and then that just triggered her right into the Bitcoin like thing, and she was on one too, by the way, just turned up, and
The best.
just yeah. So she was like, it's just like I'm just such a safe person. Like I'm just, and I was like, oh, here we go. Like I'm just such a safe person. Like we're just so boring. We're so boring. And, we're in the S&P 500 and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, interesting. So like, what is it like with you've heard of Bitcoin clearly. Like, what do you think of like when you hear that word? That's one question I've liked to ask lately is, what do you think of when you hear the word Bitcoin? Like, what's your first instinct? And she was just like, just like, I don't know, just kind of like up and down. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Interesting. And then we kept going. I was like, oh, it's interesting. That's cool. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's good. Yeah, it does go up and down a lot. Like, cause I don't try to convince anybody anymore. Right. I'm at that point where I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I was like, so what do you think it is? Like, what is like, yeah, what do you feel? Sure. Up and down, whatever. But what do you have an opinion on what is it? And she was like, well, I think it's like a store of value. And I was like, huh, like that's very odd. Like, you think it's a store of value. Like, I'm not saying it condescendingly. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You think it's a store of value, yet you also wouldn't ever want to own it because it's too up and down. And I'm like, that seems like a bit paradoxical, you know? And I could see like a light bulb because she was like, oh, I kind of just double crossed myself there where I'm trying to say the right thing, but I don't believe it. Right. Yep. And I was like, oh, it's just something to think about. Yeah. It's just interesting. And we kind of like lingered off from there.
Yep.
And I was like, it was just like a perfect little thing. We didn't get anywhere, but that was it.
No, yeah. I think it shows because people just repeat things. People repeat things. People haven't thought very deeply about it. So they just repeat things. But and so let's come back to volatility, because I think for the blind spot the Bitcoin maximalists have had for a long time is they just bulldoze over the volatility thing and effectively just tell the person that they're dumb.
Yeah.
And that is probably, if I was to deduce everything down to like, that's wrong. Because the volatility is there and is real. And so we need to, rather than being like, oh, that's dumb, turning it into a strength, addressing it head on, turning it into a strength.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. But so to close out the identity stuff, you've written 4 profiles of like different types of investors. You want to quickly run through them, or just say like, why is it helpful?
Yeah. The 4 are fox, bull, elephant, owl. Just like archetypes, if you will. And the reason I kind of came up with them is, one, I really like investor psychology. I think it's really intriguing. I like being a feel player. I like feeling like who I am, feeling the markets, trying to do that. I don't like analytical math. Everybody thinks I'm a trader, I'm a poker player. They're like, you must be really good at math. I'm like, no, I'm a clown, dude. I'm so bad at math. So I want to feel like that's what I loved about poker. It's an artistic game. And I feel like markets are the same way. There's sentiment, there's positioning, there's this dance of markets. And whenever I finally kind of figured out like, where are my strengths as a trader, and I stopped trying to be like Brian, I stopped trying to be like Kevin to my left, and I stopped trying to be this thing I wasn't. I was like, what markets do I do well in, and what style of trading works? Okay, I'm going to play in those markets. I'm going to do that style. And once I started doing that, my results just started like just going crazy, right? Because I finally like let go of trying to be what I thought was the good player and just being like, oh, like everybody has a really good trader within them. It's just like, can you align with that? And so I thought, like, let's figure out 4 archetypes, because you could go to like 20 archetypes, right, when trading, but I wanted to distill it down. And fox would be like fast, agile, in and out of trades, maybe somebody who's a day trader, right? Shifty, adaptable, whatever. A bull would be more of like a long-term kind of visionary swing trade, maybe mid to long-term frontier assets, Bitcoin, growth, right? Aggressive, but calculated. Owl will be like the studious guy, the one that has to have the perfect thing, the perfect chart, the perfect information, the edge, the analytics. Like that would be the more math-based numbers guy, kind of tame, whatever. And then elephant is somewhat similar to that, but more defensive, more like maybe value investor, doesn't want to make any mistakes, is very maybe bond driven or would you call it like dividends or something like that. And just kind of, I have like a profile for each of those. And then the thing is, there are billionaire investors that are all of those. So it's like, you don't have to be the cool guy who's in and out in a fox and like the Stanley Druckenmiller, the whatever it is, who's every 3 months in some multi-billion-dollar position.
Yeah.
on the cutting edge of something. No,
Yeah.
like you can be Warren Buffett, right? You could be Kathy Wood, who's doing like robotics and whatever. So I think it's just like figuring out, asking yourself the questions like, what do I really want? Who am I? Do I like risk? Do I not? Do I like short trades? Do I like long trades? Who are my friends in the space? Do I have good information? Do I have bad information? Where are my sources? Are they good? Are they bad? Like all those questions. And once you kind of do that, you can be like, okay, this is generally who I am now. Now where should I apply that?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think about the profiles.
Yeah. It makes me kind of, so tying in the profiles with kind of what I think is a classic anecdote of just like what the people at the birthday party that are like immediately equated with day trading, immediately equated with volatility up and down. Something that I think is interesting, even see if I can make this make sense. Like even taking Bitcoin out of it for a second, I think the amount of it's easy to talk like shit on influencers and like a problem with like content on the internet as a whole. But one good side of it actually is I think finding examples of people like that, like the end of your profiles, you list examples of popular examples, famous examples of each profile. I think influencers and like the internet is doing that in real time of where you can find the prototype that's more close to what you're doing and like have a real example to look at in the real world for that type of thing. And I think crypto and Bitcoin is like maturing to where more people are wanting to see different profiles like of people. That's just something I've noticed through for years of like talking to Bitcoin and crypto investors both online and in person. The examples of the different mixes of things are like starting to increase. And I think that's ultimately what's going to help that lady. Like what do you think will ultimately break through to like help that lady?
She needs somebody she respects. Like I'm a guy she met at a party who like likes crypto, right? And
Right.
she can like agree with me on certain points or whatever, but like I'm just not the person that needs to be her signal. But like if she's followed a person online for a long time and
The person probably exists though out there though actually, and you're the signal that she should relook if she
yes.
takes the sign.
Yeah, I can be a step forward,
Mhm.
and maybe her attention is now brought back to that, and like sometimes that's all you need is like a reminder or whatever, and it'll lead them. But to your point, there's more as we grow the network. There eventually will be that person that she sees, and I told her I was like, you know what I think. I don't know anything about the price or whatever, but here's my guess: is that everybody at this party, right now, I would say me and maybe one other person own Bitcoin at all. And I think in 10 years, all of us at this party will own Bitcoin, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
That's my best guess here. And I think like a lot of the other, there's a guy at Starbucks, Jody, awesome dude, close to retirement, whatever. Once Trump talked about Bitcoin, he bought Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Once Trump talked about Bitcoin, he bought Bitcoin. I wasn't going to be the one that brought him across that river, but the one guy he respects bought it. Or some people, that's Larry Fink, right? In the TradFi world, like they have the suit and they have the thing, and they say, "This is Paul Tudor Jones is the fastest horse or whatever." It wasn't Jaymes,
Right.
but it got you to Paul. It just takes that one person that they're like they feel relatable to. Or like allows them, like oh, thank God, like the guy that I've watched or whatever. Maybe it's even Kramer,
Right.
Be Kramer for people.
What do you think those people did to build that voice, like being that person? Just make a lot of money.
Make a lot of money and be part of their generation. I think that's huge. Like that whole like taking advice from younger people. Again, men especially don't like to admit that they're not good at something, and especially younger people being better at them in a certain area like finance, like being like money is so visceral. that like some young guy saying like you should do this and admitting that and being so open-minded enough to be like, oh, that's really interesting, tell me more about that, and then I'll go experiment. They often like.
So that's honestly a perfect pivot to
Mhm.
talking about I want to physically define growth. I want to physically define income, and I want to physically define volatility. Because as I've gotten older, I have felt my humility and empathy and like emotional intelligence grow to be able to like the guy in Orange County. I've told this anecdote multiple times, but like talking to people in Orange County early days about Bitcoin and them just being like, oh yeah, and then like physically watching it play out and them coming back, it almost is literally like getting a pat on the head of like, good job, Brian, like you have money now, like we have money too. Like it's physically like that. Like there's no like you were right, like great job. Like there isn't that, because what I didn't, and the person that already had the $10 million isn't, they don't need more. None of the words I was saying were convincing at all. It just wasn't, it wasn't even that they were non-convincing. It was just they were letting me talk about something that I was talking about. None of it was really like input to their situation, because I might as well not have even, I wasn't even speaking the same language. Like I wasn't speaking $10 million net worth rich guy. I wasn't. I was speaking loudmouth libertarian internet guy. Like it just, that there was so much talking past each other. And as I've like gotten older, I've gotten better at like speaking the same language as people.
It's like what are the problems that $10 million guy, what are the sticking points that they experience so that you can guide the conversation of Bitcoin around those points? I feel like, I would have done the same thing. As like, I would never have thought, how do I address pain points for people at that stage of not only of their assets, but like they're still winning. Like they their shit is growing. It'd be one thing if you were right and they were way wrong.
So, and I just want to pause on that exactly. And this is not to like Bitcoin channels that are saying that guy is going to lose when Bitcoin wins. That just, again, is a non-starter, that's not a serious thing to say. And I don't know. That's just a non-serious thing to say. And I'm trying to raise the entire bar because I'm tired of that being a mainstream Bitcoin talking point that like, oh, the real estate guys are gonna lose. Like, I'm sorry, that's not true. Like, I don't think that's true. Even in the scenario where Bitcoin demonetizes real estate, the guy with 14 apartment buildings is not going to lose. It just won't. It's not.
Maybe they'll like marginally underperform or whatever. But yeah, to think of this, and that's another issue maybe we have, is like we have this sadistic part of Bitcoin where we want to see the world burn and we want to see Bitcoin flourish. And it's like, yo, how's that going to work? Like, how is gold and Bitcoin just going to go up like thousands of percent and everything else is going to go into a depression? How's that going to work? And how's that good? I don't understand that one. It seems so far-fetched. So to the point, it's like, how do we gracefully introduce Bitcoin into somebody's life that's already going well?
What do you think about the term? What do you think about the term new money and old money? Like, Bitcoin people come across as Bitcoin people they're like new money idiots, kind of. I think are starting to go into that bucket also. And crypto, I think that's the other bucket that some people see crypto and Bitcoin in. They can't relate. They can't relate.
They kind of came into this. This is what they know. This is what they believe.
This is your first time here. Like, you don't know how to be rich in America.
Yeah. And there's like a saying, I was trying to think of it when you were talking, is like, basically it takes a new generation sometimes to really like it's almost sometimes pointless to talk to a 60-year-old about Bitcoin, because like it just doesn't matter what you're going to say for the next 10 years. They would rather underperform unknowingly than give a shit about doing this. Like that generation is almost like you got to let them go, which is why I like that you're focusing on like the 35 to 55, because they have some wisdom. They've lived through certain things, certain market conditions, maybe owning certain assets and all this stuff. And I feel like they're still there to go ahead.
The one thing that I don't understand that doesn't hit for the person is like the philosophical, like, fix the money, fix the world side. Like, it does still confuse me a little bit. And I still have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about that part, that like, I don't get why even, preferring to underperform slightly because lifestyle is just already at a level that just like is what it is, or like I can wrap my head around that. But I don't get the, like, why not take a shot on like changing the world?
But don't you think they don't, like, this is where I don't think they know it's a problem. Like, that's where I still don't think the majority of the public thinks there's a problem. They think, oh, yeah, life's a little bit more expensive. That plane ticket was more, groceries are more, eating out is more. And then they like keep doing their thing. And I don't actually think they think it's a problem. And so to then jump at them and say, well, we should fix the currency. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, the currency's fine. I still have a 401k that has $700,000 in it. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. So like that whole conversation of debasement and like purchasing power and all that is still like not. They'll kind of nod their head. You'll be like, don't you realize like your purchasing power over time is, they'll be like, yeah, yeah. So where are we going tonight for dinner?
Yeah.
You know, like so how can they jump to Bitcoin being a place that outperforms at a higher CAGR and they're over the hurdle rate and all that when.
All right, ping ponging around a little bit, but also then back to the mercenary trader younger guy. Do you think if like when I'm at the crypto party with that guy and I'm like, Bitcoin's going to fix the wealth gap. Like Bitcoin is the real Occupy Wall Street. Like, it's fixing the wealth gap. That person also is just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But they're in a different mindset, right? If they're at the Bitcoin party and they trade all the crypto assets, they don't care about your mission.
Yeah.
I hear it sometimes and I'm like, I don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I do like it and I do like the mission, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, those people are also not meeting you at a certain place. They don't care about your mission, and then the other people don't know there needs to be a mission. And then the trader in the middle, again, the mercenary, is just like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, good luck on your mission.
No, and it's like, but no, and it is a little bit of, it causes some self-reflection in me where it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Why am I focused on the mission instead of just focused on making money? Because the number one way to build influence in the world is just to make money. Like, honestly, like the best way, and this is the message to other Bitcoiners, the number one way to create that future is to become wealthy and influential rather than like speaking from the bottom. Like, it's to become, that's where I bounce back to the whole, like, owning real estate gives you clout in the real world. It gives you influence in the real world. And that, so it's almost like for that future where Bitcoin replaces fiat money, it's not just that the price has to 100x and blow out, your physical like me as a person, the people that actually believe that, their influence in the world and the ability to change people around them has to blow out like way higher than it is right now.
Yeah, and like if you imagine these people that use crypto to build a voice to make money, they then don't come back to the mission. They just stay there because they're like, "Oh, this is great. People like love my shit. I have the ability to basically grift." Like, they have a Midas touch, some of these people, where they can get themselves into some sort of investment, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Shill it and make money. And like, why would you go back to the boring old Bitcoin mission, you know? So it probably comes back to the whole Michael Saylor thing, is like focus. Like, because when everything's outperforming Bitcoin for those short periods of time, like it is pretty rough on like just owning Bitcoin. You're just like, like I'm missing out on outperforming. But my buddy who's a Bitcoin maxi, pretty much lives in Ohio and plays pickleball every day and just loves life. He said something great. He's like, you make the most money in Bitcoin when everything's going down. And I was like, interesting. He's like just, he focuses a lot on the charts of like things versus Bitcoin. And he's like,
Yeah.
when things are going down, that's where you make your money in Bitcoin, because most people just, yes, they can maybe outperform it when bull market conditions are on, very rarely, and you can shoot a dart, make money somewhere. But those people also lose way more on the downsides because they're giving so much of that back. And Bitcoiners are basically making that back over time. Like Bitcoiners are like short everybody else. Like they're going to avoid a lot of the mistakes you're going to make because people suck at trading. I'm a well-seasoned trader and I still fuck up all the time and wish that like, oh, I just held Bitcoin in like a lot of instances.
So, okay. And that's what, so let's come back to defining growth and defining income and defining volatility, because the point of going off on the tangent of like, I've been stuck in mission land. I've been stuck in mission land for 10 years. And I've recently stepped back and put my head above water and realized that, and I have more humility for and empathy for the like financial independence, retire early movement, the kind of just like classic dividend. It's actually astounding, even taking Bitcoin out of it for a second, how like a 500K brokerage fund like can actually produce a decent amount of like dividend income. Like actually, I'm a pretty personal finance nerd, and like I actually didn't know that. Like because I've been so stuck in just like wanting to do the mission side of it. And so this concept of growth versus income and has come to me. So how do you think about both those things?
Well, one thing is like, you know how Bitcoin's always talked about this S curve of adoption, right? Is like, I actually asked ChatGPT the other day, I was like, hey, volatility, it's an interesting word. What's the difference between volatility, on a well-established asset? So like whatever, Google, and volatility in a newly kind of adopted S curve type of thing, like Bitcoin. And it was kind of just breaking down the idea that like, yeah, volatility is a little bit of an easier metric to define in an asset that's been around for a while. It's just kind of like the speed of movement and range of movement on an asset. And it's, it goes up or down 2% a day, and then volatility increases and it goes up 5% a day or whatever. But when you have an asset that is going through, what's the law?
Standard deviation.
It's I can't remember it. The law of adoption, like there was this something curve, whatever. If you have a volatile asset that's also going through an S curve moment of adoption from like 500 million people to 6 billion people, or whatever it ends up being, you add in a massive exponential version of volatility that brings it almost into another category. So like, but then that becomes like the feature of the return, right? Because if you would like take Amazon, for instance, during the .com bubble, right? Volatile asset goes through a bear market and then becomes highly volatile when it grows into what Amazon becomes. Now you would consider Amazon just like a standard everyday, like run-of-the-mill savings account, if you will, right?
Exactly.
Like, but you can measure the volatility on it pretty accurately because it's already gone through its like adoption curve. And I remember watching some podcast on the volatility of adoption being the biggest feature of Bitcoin. And it made like a lot of sense to me. Is like, on the way up, think about how many bad decisions timing wise you make, getting in, getting out. Oh, I bought too much, I sold the bottom, all this stuff. People are doing that. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of people are doing that. And while you're going through an adoption curve of billions of people, like whether the iPhone, like they're buying iPhones, they're not sure, they're using their BlackBerry, they're kind of half and half, and then all of a sudden everybody's just the iPhone. It's the same thing here with Bitcoin, is that we're on this like ramp, and people are buying, people are selling, people are buying, people are selling, and it's got a direction that it's headed, But on that direction, it's like people join at euphoric times and they all fall off at bad times, making the worst decisions. And that's increasing this crazy volatility. So that's how I see like growth and volatility is like you have standard growth, savings account, smart, like blue chip stocks growth and volatility. And then you have like adoptive growth and adoptive volatility and knowing the kind of difference between those two. And then income clearly is a different topic, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why is income a different topic?
Well, to me, I see income as, and we talked a little bit about this, like you can have, maybe you're a person who has a lot of assets and you just you don't care about growth as much anymore. So you're like, I want to use these assets and I want to start taking like income from them. So maybe you put all your money into some sort of dividend profile or a commercial real estate thing that's renting out store space and you're just churning dividend. That can be good, right? But usually you're buying into some sort of like they're just kicking off 10% or whatever it is. And you're happy with that. You're like, that's all I need. I don't care about the riskiness of growth anymore. I don't need some asset to become a global phenomena and I outperform. I'm good. I have my lifestyle and I want to make sure I'm just getting what I need. And then you have like, so the opposite of growth would be like just steady income or steady like aggressive growth and figuring out where you are in the middle of that. The thing is a lot of these income products like the yield max funds or dividend indexes and things like that, they're coming off the back of assets that are stagnant or like depreciating because they're living off you investing in them basically. Like you're their sugar daddy, right? For them to keep operating. And yeah, you're getting your little income, but your assets in the background are not generating anything. They're not growing at all. That's kind of the nice thing about owning your own real estate is that they are appreciating in the background. But with some of these new income products, like you've talked about with like Bitcoin volatility products, like there's a lot of volatility sitting on top of that asset and they're able to like trade options pretty effectively there, sell people kind of mispriced options, buy mispriced options, and they can take a bigger chunk of that and give it back to you at a higher income rate. And Bitcoin's appreciating, by the way.
So how do we package this for the lady at the birthday party? How do you package the volatility is good?
So I have had some success talking about that idea of like volatility as we go through an S curve.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that talked about. That is compelling.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. The other one is like, what portion of your bankroll can I say could go up 100 or down to 0? What portion of that are you okay with doing? Like how? Like let's just make up a number. You have $100,000. If I said we're going to take $2,000 of that and we're going to go to Vegas and like you'll be okay with losing at the blackjack table, you'll be fine, right? You got 98K. Why don't you just do that with Bitcoin? Like you get your feet wet. Maybe you care a little bit about it. Maybe you learn a little bit. But look, if I'm wrong, look, you only lost this much. But if I'm right, that could become 20% of your portfolio. And like you maybe they even hate Bitcoin. That's like one of my favorites, like the spite buy is like you buy something because you hate it so much. Like I want to buy Tesla because I hate Elon Musk so much or whatever. Because now if it goes up, at least you got a little piece of the pie. That one resonates with people surprisingly.
Definitely. No, definitely. I think it does resonate with some people. But then also what that makes me think about is back to the crypto guy that just only has the 8K and just keeps like once a year they'll like take 8K worth of moonshots and just burn it to the ground. Like that because the return on Bitcoin, like they don't see the upside of Bitcoin high enough. And honestly, that's the same thing is happening to the guy, the 48-year-old dad who has their safe 401k and their primary residence, and then the side volatile money is sitting in Robinhood. Like Bitcoin isn't seen as high enough, so they're gonna do Dogecoin because it was talked about on Saturday Night Live instead of Bitcoin, because now Bitcoin has ETFs and all this stuff and just isn't. It's like both people that are all the way in on crypto and people that are casual on Robinhood, both are like basically missing that Bitcoin volatility still has juice.
Yeah. The 48-year-old guy, I would try to spend time on getting them to forget the Robinhood thing, getting them to get a small portion of their 401k into like IBIT or something for their family. I would like lean into the family thing. Like you're fucking up your bloodline type of thing, right? You could still fuck around with your Robinhood, spin it up, do whatever you want. But like you should have 5% of your money in Bitcoin that you're not touching. And the 24-year-old who has 8K, does he have a job? Does he? I need a scenario like, because if he has a job, then look, I'd probably say go for it. Like, let's do some fun things. Let's try to learn trading. Like, let's maybe. But if you have a bad mentality, I don't think you got a shot. Your mind's all over the place. You're taking care of your little brother. Like, I don't know. I'd be like, look, you should probably just like throw half of that in Bitcoin, really make it untouchable, go live your life, and maybe fuck around with some stocks. But like, I don't know. It's always like dependent like on the individual situation, because some people can make it. Some people can spin it up and have good edge. Maybe they're chronically online and have a good network. Like there can be edge there. But if we're speaking law of large numbers here, most people would probably be best just not doing that.
I'm trying to,
The thing is like,
I like vehemently disagree with that, but I'm trying to, but it's a challenge to make a compelling argument against it. Like I'm trying to think of I try to push myself to say things that are fresh and say things, and for whatever reason, there is no. Basically, I think I've leaned on the crutch. This is all meeting you and talking to people on the channel has helped me realize that I've leaned on the crutch of like the mission of Bitcoin too much to believe that it'll be compelling to that 24-year-old. And I want to find new ways to like so I've almost changed in order for Bitcoin to beat fiat, like but at the same time, I'm still motivated by Bitcoin replacing fiat money as a mission, because I think that's good for society and good for the individual. But it's like, how do I say, like, is there another way to convince that person? Is there a mathematical way to say that like buying Bitcoin, like, I guess the whole like buying other things outperform Bitcoin is like my head's been in the sand so much that like I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah, but like, what do they want? Like, what do they want? What's the 24-year-old want? Do they want to outperform Bitcoin, and that's like the original, or are they genuinely interested in trading a volatile, like burgeoning class of stuff and maybe learn about Bitcoin along the way? I don't know.
Let me ask you a different question. When I asked you the definition of trader, you were saying to beat a benchmark. I think a lot of people don't actually even know what that means. So the person on Robinhood, regardless of their age, buying the other stuff because the price is low and could go up higher, like they're not trading or investing. It's a fun bucket of money. And I'm so like, I could throw out the word gambling, but I'm not, like, I'm saying that in a very neutral way, like not in like a not pejorative. It just, so whether it's trading, investing, or gambling, it doesn't even really matter what it is. They're buying it. They don't have a benchmark. They're trying to stack units of dollars, right? Yeah. Like there is no benchmark they're trying to beat.
Maybe they need to lose though to really understand like the benchmark that is Bitcoin, like it's like hard for people, especially when things get good, is like to just have their money sitting there. And I almost feel like that's why I liked losing for my first 2 years of trading, is it like taught me a lot, I suppose. And I wonder if, say, this guy has 8K and, he knows that Bitcoin is earning like 30 or 40% a year on average, and then he loses some money, and then he's able to more effectively go into Bitcoin for the long term after that.
I also wonder how much of this maybe it's all tied back to income. Like, why are people doing that with their Robinhood thing? Because they want to hit it big and stop working.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why it's weirdly attached back to the whole income thing of like, do you want growth or do you want income? The person wants to stop working their dead end, like mixing a lot of profiles, but like they want to stop working.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not going to be able to stop working with 8K in Bitcoin.
No, totally.
You know,
Absolutely.
so it's like, I guess like maybe it's like a stoicism, like it might happen. You know, you might be able to stop working by next week if you're trading your 8K. Definitely not going to happen with Bitcoin. So like,
I guess the odds, yeah, but so the odds of this is where, see, I always come back to the crutch of like the mission thing, because it's like if the odds of them putting the 8K into Bitcoin and a future world where Bitcoin is the world reserve currency, which raises the like tide of all of society, and now everyone has to work less because max deflation technology technotopia like takes over. Actually, that actually seems more plausible to me than hitting 8K up enough to stop working.
well, you're right. I think they inherently know that, and I still think they'll decide to play with the 8K just because of time. Or like if Bitcoin goes to 1 million, your 8K turns into 70K, and it's been 5 years. And 70K to them, they're still working in their mind. It's just like,
right, because they haven't, because it's hard to quantify a future world where Bitcoin is $1 million and Bitcoin is the world reserve currency of the world, means that all your new part-time labor in that year will go farther. So your actual hours being put into your job in that, like, your hours are going down.
mm-hmm.
Your hours needing to work are going to go down. But it's really hard to.
Well, and most likely they would have lost their money and they're going to be working more, right? Like, if we didn't get into the techno utopia, nobody's working and all that shit, but like, if you decide to take the risk, you're risking the future, right? You're risking the future way more by trading that 8K, because generally speaking, 98, 99 out of 100 people, they're going to lose that 8K. And they're still willing to do. They're willing to know, like, yeah, I'll just keep working in 5 years this shitty job, but like I can try now. I can spin it up, man. You know, and maybe I'll be retired by next year. Because this idea of like accepting your shitty position in your job, and you still have to grind it out for another 5-10 years before it like Bitcoin gives you that time back. I'm just saying it's like a big stretch for people, and I think it's really easier to like digest when you have some money, when you have some resources.
Yes.
You know, but for the people that already hate the system and love the gambling, and all their friends talk about this the whole time, it's just so hard to really not only get them to do that, but to keep them that way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have all these things, inputs, and like, like, I'm going to put this 8 grand in. I'm never going to touch it. Right. Maybe we hit a little euphoric period and they're like, look, I'm just going to use 1,000, just going to use 1,000. Right. That other one, like we won't touch the 7K. I'm going to spin that. And that, they dust that off and just another 1,000, just like blackjack at a casino. You sit down with your $500 in chips. You're going to bet the minimum, bet the minimum, bet the minimum. This time, like I've lost 3 hands in a row. Let's double it. All of a sudden you have like that last full stack and you realize, oh shit, like my whole plan went out the window once the punch hit.
What should the two topics left we're going to talk about Bitcoin versus other protocols, and I wanted to talk about how a kind of landing the plane on 35 to 55-year-old like affluent individuals. What should they be thinking about in terms of kind of everything? And we have the concept of savings versus growth. What should we what do you feel like landing the plane on?
Well, I think like the 8K thing we're never gonna solve. Like I feel like your battle is fought in the 35 to 55-year-old. Like it's I, there's a big battle to be had with the 8K, bro. But like the meat and potatoes is like the person with hundreds of thousands of dollars access now to move that into retirement ability, 401k, manage it, like putting a chunk into Bitcoin, trying to balance. Like I feel like that's where the focus needs to be. Um, and like I think going back to the archetype thing, like if you are in that category, you have some money, you're 35 to 55, like you have some kind of life plan maybe or whatever. How does it fit into you? Because like for me, I'm 38. I would love to, you know, be done by 50, just walking around my neighborhood bothering all the Karens, like drinking coffee. Like that's just texting you, you know, like that's what I would like to do. So my plan is going to be one thing. I'm pretty aggressively positioned right now. Now, am I okay with that going poorly and I can fall back into my skills of managing money? Yeah. But, you know, if you're like middle management, white collar right now, your job's on the line in the next 5 years with AI, you have money positioned in the S&P 500, you have maybe some cash, and you have maybe you're thinking about putting 5 or 10% in crypto. Like that's all something you got to work through and figure out like what's best for you. What do you make bad decisions when you get really emotional? If so, like be very careful over allocating and when, and like maybe start to meet somebody like Brian, reach out, have a call with him and be like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Here's my situation. And you're going to be like, well, okay, like that sounds great. Sounds pretty aggressive. Have you done this before? No. Okay. Well, maybe a better option is like a DCA or something where you're putting some in now. I know you're excited because it's 120K and like it could go to 200 and you want to put it all in now. But like, what if we do experience the top of a cycle here and it goes back to 70K? Are you going to make a bad decision then? Are you going to call Brian raging your face off? Or are you going to be constantly buying here to where in 4 years, that'll now be 40% of your portfolio and you'll be fucking crushing it? You know, I don't, it's just like a reflection thing. I think people need to go back and like talking. I have phone calls all the time that start out with no intention and then I hang it up. I'm like, Jesus, like, you know, and I don't think enough people like talk. They just like kind of close minded. I'm doing what I'm doing. People are like so focused on what has been working. And we're always like thinking like, where are we headed? Where is the puck going? This stuff can work too, but like, how do I also see the light at the end of the tunnel of like what Bitcoin could be and how I'm allocated and stuff. So I don't really know if that's a great answer, but to me, it all comes down to like your individual situation, reflecting on your own personality, and then working backwards to be like, this is my allocation. That makes sense. You know?
Yeah. No, I think that's a perfect place to leave it. Look, both of us are pretty accessible. I'm gonna put your socials and stuff in the description. And we want to talk to more people that are actively, if you're having these active thoughts just about how you're investing and the way you're thinking about just the future, we want to talk to you and kind of build people that can learn from each other. So talk more soon.
Yeah, I would just say make sure you watch all of Brian's stuff. I think it's really good, digestible, right? 8-10 minute clips. Learn a little bit more about Bitcoin. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and you can learn to trade some too. I think real quick before we end, do you think speculation for the next 5 years like becomes more rampant or less rampant?
So I think it actually is a good place to end on, because part of what's been good about meeting you is you're probably the most like accessible, like active trading type person. And I've told the channel, like, I have a blind spot in terms of like thinking about bull markets and bear markets. I don't really think about that. Like I think structural, like talking about the investor profiles, like I'm squarely as a bull, and then I'm like trying to bring in more elephant and trying to bring in more defensiveness. And that's the reason why I'm talking about the income funds and talking about how to sell away some upside and basically like have a different profile in my investing combined with my like very long positions. And so I don't know about the word speculation, but I think the word Bitcoin volatility, I don't think
Mhm.
is going to go down. Like I don't think Bitcoin volatility is going to go down. I think you and others and Jeff Park on Pomp's channel have done a really good job of talking about how Bitcoin's volatility is so unique compared to all the other options out there. And the message of why the volatility is good, and the way volatility is combined with income, that story, there's still so much surface area there that I need to personally learn about. And I'm watching become more and more of a conversation that I don't know. I don't think it's going to go down.
Yeah. And by speculation, I just mean like the availability for people to bet on things, invest in things. Like we're going 24/7 at the end
Yeah.
of next year. Like it's going to happen. We're going to have private companies available to invest in. You're going to have perp trading. I think stock perp trading is going to be a thing. Like, so like you're firmly in the camp of like growth, long-term time horizon, structural inefficiency to how fiat money system works and all that. But I'm saying there's a place for you to be a little bit more of a fox in because you're so understanding of like the ebbs and flows of crypto that there are moments. Whereas me, who spent 12 years as a fox, needs to learn how to relax a bit and think a bit more broad.
Correct. The amount of buckets that you pay attention to is this crazy to me. Yeah. Like it's wild.
Yeah, but that's all we did, right? So
Yeah.
that's it. All is a big.
Whereas I lump a lot of the buckets of just the same thing. Like earlier today, when I told you, I was just like, I'm structurally just neutral on like stocks, basically all of them. It doesn't matter if they're an AI stock or a Bitcoin mining stock or a consumer goods stock. Like they're basically all the same thing to me. And it's just like a non-starter.
Yeah. Well, you're very focused.
Yeah.
You know? So it's good.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Yeah, leave a comment. We'll talk to you more soon. Like, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I think you would really enjoy being a channel member. It's a few bucks a month. You can cancel anytime. We're going to start doing members only live streams. And it's just a high signal you can send that the content is like hitting and you're interested in going deeper on Bitcoin personal finance. And so, yeah, I'm just gathering a crew of people that are down to learn from each other on how we're all writing Bitcoin personal finance advice live and learning how to incorporate Bitcoin into our personal finances. Go ahead and click join right next to the subscribe button.